Welcome back, everyone. Bonny-Lynn Russell here, and I'm so excited to be back joined live with my sidekick, Amy Rost. How are you doing, Amy?
So good. So good to be back together. It's kind of nice over summer to go away and then come back together. And now I can't wait to get back at it. So good to be back together with you.
Absolutely. And as we're starting to kind of gear up towards fall, like when we're recording this, it's exciting to be setting up those intentions, making our fall plans. What's the schedule going to be like? What do I kind of want to unfold and accomplish this year? So it's sort of a cool time of year right now.
I agree.
Um,
And I always think that September to me feels like the new year. With kids going back to school, it's like it's that fresh new start. And it's time to think about, what do you want that to look like?
Totally. Totally. So we got a cool topic today. We are really going to just dive into what is it like to experience a teacher training program, or what is the actual experience of learning to teach Pilates and designing a career and a life that you love.
I know. I am so excited for this topic because I think it's more relevant today than ever, because we get to decide. We all have our own power of choice to do what we love. And maybe this is a time to evaluate, are you following your passion? Are you in a career that fulfills you and has purpose and meaning every day? Do you feel those as you go through your workday? And maybe now's the time to ask those questions. And I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably already love Pilates. But maybe you're thinking about a teacher training program, or just thinking about a career or a deeper dive into this movement that Bonny-Lynn and I love so much.
That's true. And I think what's so different is that, as we're kind of gearing back to this, like going back to school routine, going to Pilates school or going to a teacher training program is super unique. It engages so many different learning styles. It engages all the senses. You truly get to experience it fully, which is very different than, maybe going to university and sitting in a lecture hall, just listening to a PowerPoint presentation. So I want to talk a little bit deeper about that today. So first of all, maybe Amy, can we talk about like just the movement aspect of a teacher training program and what a prospect might think about experiencing?
The movement piece is huge. It's a huge piece of that experience of a teacher training, because yes, you're going to learn the movement in lecture, but then you've got to feel it. You've got to do it. And that experiencing what that feels like in your body and really like diving deep, that is what is going to help you to be a really amazing teacher, because you've been there. You've been on that mat learning, oh my gosh, how am I going to do 100 of these with my head up and holding my legs? How am I going to do this? Oh, and how am I going to do it breathing? And you start to really, your beginning point is what you're going to pass along to your teachers. So when you start to feel that in your body, that becomes that building, that foundation and that building block. Because the movement, I mean, this is what is bringing us together, is the movement, the physical movement for the body. Yes, let me tell you, the side effects for your mind and your spirit are just built into it. It's there. But the movement piece is what keeps us moving forward as we build on the exercises. Because in this teacher training, whether you're doing the MAP program or the comprehensive or the bridge, there is a progression, and we take you from beginner, fundamental, beginner, right through to the advanced level work. And that you have to feel that, and it's got to be a part of your experience to move the body up into those levels. How about for you, Bonny-Lynn? What do you think in terms of that experience?
Yeah, I do believe the movement is foundational for sure. And I feel like the students, I often told, students that I've trained in the past, that it's almost like going through the method themselves is it's almost like they're a year long or however long the program is project. They're like their first client. How are they going to teach this themselves? How are they going to watch the material, assimilate it, and they'll start to develop a really cool teaching voice just through that discovery of going through the movement themselves. I really think it's amazing, and that movement piece is key. So that's like first big thing of how it's different than, say, just going to a typical like university lecture. The other part that I think is a really unique experience that, dare I say, sometimes gets undervalued is when you experience observing another teacher teach, or you get to observe bodies move when you're not guiding them. I found some of my best learning happen during those observation hours. And I'd be really curious to hear your opinion, Amy, on what you found those observation hours, the experience like that to be.
Oh, they're priceless. And to be honest, they're still, even as a teacher today, I still am the part of that, part of my role as a teacher is the observer, to notice what's happening. How is a body interpreting something? How is it, what movement pattern is it choosing? Where is it, where is it easy? Where is it a struggle? Like it gives us so much information. And when we can remove ourselves from like maybe having to look at the technical piece when you're in teacher training and just observing and hearing the voice of another teacher and seeing different bodies, it is so valuable. And like you said, so many of those hours still are in my head. I'll remember back to that time when I was observing and this really cool thing happened, like where someone really just has that aha moment and gets it. I mean, that to be a part of that experience with another body, with other teachers around you and your fellow students, it really is, it's life-changing. It's life-changing.
Well said. Absolutely. So that observation part, I think, is a big piece. Another part of the teacher training journey that I think is very unique is practice teaching, is learning to try to see, okay, I've watched these lectures, I felt it in my body, I've watched someone else lead. What happens now when I have to start articulating words, using my hands? I think it really shows you when you go through practice teaching that shows you where you know and maybe where you're lacking some understanding, in which case that's a great learning opportunity that you can go deeper, ask questions, and then really start to develop your own teaching voice. I think it's such a cool part of the program. What are your thoughts, Amy?
I agree. And I think, having that experience when you're surrounded by other teachers who are there to support you and encourage you and are there along the journey of learning with you really allows you that safe space to find your voice, where we don't want another Amy or another Bonny-Lynn. We want you, the best teacher with your voice and your skill set, to bring to the industry to change as many people's lives as possible.
For sure. And that brings us to sort of another piece that I think is such a cool part that, when you go to I remember going to university and you sort of felt like you were almost just a number, you were your ID card, you would come in and you were just lost in the shuffle. But something that I know is really your passion and your strength too, Amy, is this, the importance of this community and building a tribe of like-minded people for different levels of experience, and how that's only going to nurture you really honing on to your craft.
Well, it is a little passion of mine, so much maybe I even put on a conference in Canada. But the feedback and hearing the voices of teachers there is something really unique and really energizing when teachers come together. Again, we can have different backgrounds and different skill sets, but I always believe no matter the teacher, no matter the background, I can learn something from them. They have something that we all can learn. We can learn from each other, and it becomes an exchange. And when you go in with that openness, and really when you have that support, and again, that safe place where you feel like it's okay to make a mistake. That is part of the journey. You will learn far more from the mistakes you make than you will from being successful in teaching that exercise right out of Return to Life. You will learn from where you're like, oh, I didn't know what to do there, or I need help. And that, I think, that experience and piece of a teacher training is so powerful. And that really is where you start to mold yourself as a teacher.
Yes, I couldn't agree more. It's just such a unique process. And I think until someone has gone through it, they really have no other comparables. So again, if you kind of think back to, most of us realize, like, if you did anything post-secondary, whether it's a college or university, you might be a number, you're in a group with large people, the teacher may know you personally or not, and you're kind of up to your own devices to learn the material. I feel like with a teacher training experience, it really plays to all your senses. You get to experience the movement in your body. You get to see other people's moves and watch the movement in their bodies and watch their aha moments and their discoveries. You get to observe teachers that you admire and mentors, and you get to really learn, be like, wow, like I want to be like that, or wow, that's an amazing way to use their hands. Or you get to observe those skills. You get to practice yourself, and without anybody watching, just to really go deep, and then have this peer support as you're practice teaching and really discovering your own voice. And I mean, it really is a journey of self-discovery, if I want to be as bold as that, because you get to go, it's so well, all encompassing in this work.
And I think we both will agree, no one is the same when they start as when they finish.
Absolutely.
It changes us forever. And I believe in a good way. And I think the other thing, that we focused on in this program is bringing in some of those other elements as well, right? Like, here is your opportunity. If, this is something you've been thinking of to teach on your own, or you want to teach in the studio, is that we also go a little bit of a deeper dive on how to connect to that greater community when you're done. And it's not like one and done. It's like one and the next chapter, and then the next chapter. And when you do that, surrounded by like-minded people, it really is just a life-changing experience that you will take with you on this movement journey for the rest of your life, whether you teach or you don't.
For sure. And I know I can speak personally, like, I did my initial teacher training over 20 years ago, but there's still, like, those friendships are still there. There's still those connections with those, because we went through this journey together as trainees. We supported each other. And we grew as individuals. And I think that's such a cool thing, those life-changing moments. And if you go alongside somebody else, you feel forever bonded with them.
Yeah. And being able to, how we've designed this, where, weekly we're having weekly class. It's not like you're having it in 10 days and then we don't see each other for 2 months. We have weekly, we're going to see each other once a week at minimum, maybe more. And that we are there to support and encourage and really, like, get you the most out of the experience that you want. And so I think that's an important piece, is setting, thinking about, what are your goals for teacher training? What do you want to have come out of it? Because that truly will be your driving force and will help you reach those goals. And I probably guarantee you're going to achieve so much more than you ever thought possible at the beginning of your journey.
And that's a really beautiful point, Amy, is that I think that sometimes people start and they're like, I don't even know if I want to teach, or I don't even know what's going to happen. And inevitably, by the end of the program, there's so much hope, and they have all these possibilities that they didn't even know existed. But they just put one step in front of the other. They started the path, and they know that they wanted to start on this path of Pilates and really making a difference in people's lives.
I agree. And I think this is your invitation to experience Pilates teacher training in a new way, in a way that has evolved as we've evolved over the last few years, and looking what's happening in our industry and what the future looks like. And we're excited for the future. It's been a tough couple years, but we are excited for the future because people need the movement now more than ever. And it's really that invitation to, be a part of changing people's lives through movement. And that's really the end result of a teacher training, is you get to be there with your clients, changing their lives, one movement, one exercise, one breath at a time.
Beautifully said, Amy. If you like this episode, we would love to hear from you. Please leave a comment or a review, and we'll see you next week.